Happy belated New Year, one and all. Welcome back to Grand Prix World for the 2006 season. We're getting there. I know I said a few months ago that we'd be finished by New Year with this playthrough, but then I got sick and a whole bunch of stuff happened. Regardless, we're pressing on, and we should be finished. I'm loath to make another judgment there, but looking at it, I think we'd probably be finished within a month or two. So, getting through it. Alexander Wurz has joined the team, equal number one driver with Pedro Diniz, but that's not really what's important here. What's really important is that I hope all of you guys had an amazing Christmas and New Year. I'm sorry we've had a slow start in terms of content. Those of you who watched stuff that isn't Grand Prix World will probably remember that a few weeks back I was talking a lot of shit about how I was going to get my act together, and I was going to be producing content that was a little bit turned up in terms of quality. I wanted to get a more professional feel going, make sure that I only put videos out that meet a certain quality standard, as low as that may be. That actually, it turns out, is a lot of work. I'm still learning to use a lot of the tools, and because some of this content is scripted, it requires several takes to get it how I want it, and then stitching it all together and making sure the timings are right and everything. It's actually taking a lot longer than I expected it would, especially because I'm taking footage from a lot of different sources. It's not just all my playthroughs. There's other stuff in there that I have to contact people to get the okay to use the footage, and I have to download the footage and trim it and save it in the right place and figure it all out. We will get there though. Speaking of getting there, our aim has to be now to not only win races and championships, but we have to get on top of this qualifying problem, and hopefully the arrival of one Mr. Wurz helps us achieve that goal. Let's take a look how we look in terms of the old sponsors for next season. Next season we have 15% car coverage, so we've got a lot of contracts to renegotiate. The team sponsor is up for grabs again. We are committed to Ford for another year. Tyres and race fuels and lubricants we've got to negotiate as well as all of these cash sponsors. So very much all to play for this season. Got a lot of work to do to ensure that we continue our dominance. Taking a look at what we've got this year though, Murano are sponsoring the team. Ford continue of course to provide the power. Goodyear Tyres, Mobil One, race fuels and lubricants, and then this sexy array of sponsors, some of whom have been with us for many years. It's all very romantic. We're very close, big time buddies. Right then. So as ever, we're going to open the season with a round of testing. We're going to try and get something on the go early. We now have a factory that is, well, it's a super robot future nuclear powered winter bunker factory that can do everything. Maybe next season we have to do another round of upgrades. Maybe some stuff gets outdated, but we have the technology to rebuild him, and we have the technology to develop an upgrade, hopefully from before round one onwards. So that means we should, all going well, be able to get an extra upgrade package out for our car over the course of the year. Problem is, of course, that our attention is divided. We have works contracts across the board, which means we have a buttload of testing to perform in order to get anywhere. I'm going to use a lot of mechanics for this opening round of testing, fully half of them. We're also going to be doing the most mileage possible. That shouldn't bite us in the ass too hard, but nevertheless it's important. We're going to put 20% across the board on setup work, development as well, I suppose, and then when it comes to engine and tyre testing, they have to take priority in my book. Let's just spread things out like that. The fortune testing I'm not hugely bothered about right now, but we'll do it anyway because we can. Those numbers are maybe a little bit high, but I'd rather kill it with kindness. Let's run that test. Nice. Very nice. Okay, so we still have to do another round of testing to get the upgrade underway, but we've got it out of the way. That's the main thing. So from round 2 onwards, we'll be working on new aero packages pretty consistently throughout the year. Now we have the capacity for that. Looking at the engine, we need to do something particularly about reliability. So why don't we do that? I'll put 3 on reliability, 1 on heat. That's already a pretty significant improvement for us. Which tyres deserve some love? I think it's the wet weather, isn't it? We'll tackle that early on. Yeah, that'll do for now. And then in terms of the race fuel, if we get 2 points, then obviously 1 upon each of their houses. So that's already an excellent start. We've got a full stock of spare parts, which is pleasing to me. We have 60% handling potential on the car. It's not as high as I would have liked, but presumably it was the best we could manage. We're working on active suspension. We're also working on next year's car already. I think I must have set that up during the preamble ramble. We'll spend the fortune points then. See if we achieve anything. Of course we don't. Let's take a look at technology really quick. The car is not looking quite as sexy as I would have liked. I'm going to immediately address the reliability deficit on the suspension. We really don't want to be running into suspension failure in any of these Grand Prix. And while it's not super concerning that it's level 2 reliability, level 1 would be panic stations for me. Level 2 isn't fantastic either, so we will get that out of the way straight away. Let's repair some cars. Now, in terms of tyre strategy, I really don't know what to do. Usually we run the split strategy, and the split strategy has in some years produced over the length of a season a fairly even level of performance between the two drivers running the 2 different compounds. But at the same time, I kind of want to this season play around a little bit more and try and have the drivers racing each other as much as those around them, just because I want to see how close they really are. And when you're running them on separate tyre strategies, while it does cover you against, you know, one particular tyre being super over the top slow, it also means that you're not giving both drivers an equal chance. In terms of equal chance, both drivers will be at 50% aggressiveness. The reason I'm doing that is that we do have some minor reliability niggles on the car still. The engine in particular doesn't like to receive a spanking too much. We're going to set up for dry weather, brake, power, acceleration. We'll go full dry there. I will put them both on the same setup. I want to try and give them an equal chance going into the first Grand Prix, and hopefully they both finish and we get an idea of what's going on. I think we will put them both on the soft compound tyre for the opening Grand Prix. So that's a 2-stopper in most cases. Right, let's set up the sponsor negotiations before I plough on. Let's try and retain Murano if we can, simply because the white and black kind of fits in with the whole vibe we've got going on. Any new tyre manufacturers? Nope. I guess in this case we will then try and stick with our buddies from Goodyear. Same with Mobile, I suppose. Let's see what we can achieve here. I think that's the best use. I wanted to see if I could get it up to level 3 quality by putting a few extra staff on it, but I could not. And I really want to open negotiations pretty quickly with the likes of Danker and Castrol and PIAA, who are our friends. Let's get them on the go straight away. In terms of who we're inviting to the Grand Prix, Murano, Goodyear, and mobile straight off the bat. We want to cover the key sponsors as ever early on. It's really important to get those nailed down, and even if you don't get an optimal deal, as we've seen through the seasons, you can save more here than you can make elsewhere. So it still makes sense, even at this stage in the game when we're so dominant, to chase these key sponsors before you chase anything else. Right, I think then we are all set for round one. Let's take a look at the staff situation. Ian Phillips in his last season with the team. Loic Biguar is not. Gary Anderson last year with the team. Nigel Stepney is not. That means we need to find a replacement for Gary Anderson, and I would really like to do something about the Gary Anderson situation. See, Harvey Postlethwaite would have been my choice, because Adrian Newey is like super mega robot expensive, and I don't want to pay $31 million bucks for him. John Barnard, still really expensive. Ross Brawn is expensive. Leo Ress, Pat Simmons. I mean, there's no one here that sort of leaps out as the smart choice. But I mean, I tell you something, there's no way I'm paying 31 million to get Adrian Newey with a 16 million championship bonus. That ain't happening. If Williams want to open their wallet to that extent, then go for it. And then part of me thinks John Barnard, right? John Barnard is one of the best designers in the game, usually. He's lost some skill at the moment, and he's currently unemployed, which should mean we can get him for less, but I don't think we'll get him down to Gary Anderson's level of pay. So it might be better that we work on keeping the Gaz. See if he takes that. Okay, he wants a little bit more championship bonus. We can talk about it, Gaza. Don't worry, mate. We can talk about it. Rob Armstrong might be our best option here. I will go to 6% for 2 years. At this stage in the game, you really do have to cross that 5% threshold. My 5% rule really is for sort of the opening 3-4 seasons. It's because it really does add up. It really does add up, particularly once you start getting team sponsors. The amount you're just handing over gets quite large, and although you can technically afford it, you also could do a lot more with that money than just hand it over to a team head. Let's see if he'll take that offer. He wants us to have more sponsors, and he wants more than 6%. I mean, I'm loath to go quite so high as 7%. He wants more than 7%. See, we're getting into very sketchy ground here. Mannering is starting to look, to be honest with you, quite a good compromise solution, because I can afford to give him a massive pay increase. We'll try Rob Armstrong next round, just because I like having the full bar here, and if not, then we'll sign Mannering, because it's just, even when you're super rich and you're super profitable and you're multiple championship winners, there's no point, no sense at all in just pouring money away. And I just it's a fault of mine, I think, but I just can't shake that mindset. There are plenty of players that would just cough up the cash and say, yeah, sure, I'll give you a 10% deal to get a 5-star commercial team lead, but I just will not do it, because I don't think the overall benefit is actually there. Where the benefits are to be found, though, is hopefully in Melbourne. Come on now. No, I don't want to quit. There we go. Okay, so having a quick run down the list of competitors for this season, just to refresh your memoirs. Alexander Wurz is listed as a lead driver, but we all know it's Pedro at Arrows. Giancarlo Fisichella partners David Coulthard at Ferrari. Schumacher and Ricardo Rosset, the world's most unlikely comedy double act, over at Williams. Irvine partners Hakkinen at McLaren. John Lacey and Luca Badoa are hoping to turn Minardi's fortunes around. Jan Magnussen and Emmanuel Collard Two men with very specialist haircuts down at Stewart, Juan Pablo Montoya and Johnny Herbert, both being irrelevant at Jordan. Esteban Tuero and Alberto Marini hanging out at Prost. Celso Moreira leads Jürg Muller at Sauber. Interesting move for Moreira there. Obviously losing his Ferrari seat to our own Fisichella. Toru Takagi and Shinji Nakano continue the all-Japanese lineup at Benetton. And Johnny Newhouse partners Stefan Sarazan, where they're all speaking French down at Tyrrell. Nice. 24 degrees, very dry with a strong wind for qualifying. Again, we haven't run the car yet, so we don't really know how that affects us. But let's see what we get out of this. So, interesting start. It seems that Wurz likes those soft tyres considerably more than Deniz does. Eddie Irvine takes pole position for McLaren, 1:35.70. David Coulthard lines up second for Ferrari on a 1:37.72. Alexander Wurz on his debut for Arrows takes third, 1:38.42. What I noticed is that the Bridgestone tyres seem to be much better here. If you look at the top six, 4 out of 6 are Bridgestone runners. And it's only because we are such a developmental powerhouse that I think we're even in the top 6. I think the Bridgestones are the tyre to have here. Fisichella, another Bridgestone shod car. His Ferrari lines up 4th. Mika Hakkinen 5th for McLaren. 6th goes to our very own Pedro Diniz, significantly behind his teammate actually, 7/10. Celso Moreira Sauber is 7th. Pretty good showing for him actually, particularly in what before now has been a consistent midfield car. He's in the upper midfield there. That's a pretty good start for him. Although the gap between him and Shinji Nakano is minuscule. Nakano's Benetton taking 8th. Ricardo Rosset 9th for Williams, and Juan Pablo Montoya rounds out your top 10 on the grid. For Jordan, who are the losers in qualifying? The Stewarts, actually. Prost have managed to leapfrog Stewarts at last. Emmanuel Collard was outside the 107% time. Jan Magnussen is the final qualified runner. Prost continued to languish at the bottom though, and then it's a Tyrrell Minardi sandwich, 15th to 18th. Yeah, I'm not reading too much into that, except that there's been a very bad showing there for Michael Schumacher. I don't know if it's the tyres or the car that doesn't suit him, but to be out-qualified so hugely by teammate Ricardo Rosset is pretty laughable. So, bad luck there. 22 degrees and light rain going into the race. Now, that usually serves Pedro Diniz quite well. We will be 2 stopping still. I think that is the best way to go. So let's see what our boys can do, shall we? Nice. Pedro Diniz takes the first win of the season, a 1:36.15.901. I'm so excited I dropped my house keys. Mika Hakkinen puts his McLaren out of nowhere onto second position, 1:36.50.121, showing again the Bridgestone cars seem to have pace in hand. Alexander Wurz rounds out the podium on his debut for Arrows, 1:36.50.621. What you'll notice there is the gap between Diniz and Hakkinen is humongous. It's really, really big. 35 seconds, 35.8 seconds, I believe. Fisichella takes 4th for Ferrari, and the final points paying positions go to Eddie Irvine in the McLaren and David Coulthard in the Ferrari, respectively. A few brake failures, 3 engine failures, but nothing amazing there that stands out that I feel I need to comment on, but we did find that Pedro Diniz lapped everyone up to and including Ricardo Rosset in 7th, so a dominant display there from Pedro Diniz, although again, as we know, changeable conditions and wet conditions do tend to suit him very, very well. Wurz was his closest rival in previous years in those conditions, alongside Hill and Schumacher, but seemingly a little bit off the boil today, Wurz. Nevertheless, excellent points haul going into the first round. Pedro Diniz sits atop the pile on 10 points, of course. And in the Constructors, we have a healthy head start over McLaren, 14 points to 8. Ferrari, the only other point scorer at the moment. This means it is most definitely time to tie up some contracts here. Okay, Rob Armstrong still won't sign. What about you? You won't sign. Welcome aboard, Mr. Mannering. I just won't be held to ransom. It's not going to happen. We will up Gaz's bonus to 1.1 million. Excellent. Now, I know he's got a driver loyalty to a driver that's not with us anymore, but we're signing him on a financial basis now. The team's not as profitable as I would have liked. We didn't really turn a profit there. Yeah, we made a loss of $500,000. That's interesting. I guess our staff expenditure is increasing, and also we spent a lot of money on testing, which we won't always be doing. Murano are in talks with somebody else. That means we have to move quickly to sign them. It's a 2-season deal, so we really do want that. Likewise, I'm going to spend a TV Advantage card on Goodyear. We will invite PIAA to our party then, and hope that spending that Success Advantage card gets us somewhere with Murano. What we're going to do about our finances, there's an interesting question. Because losses of $500,000 are definitely not sustainable within our current budget plan. Well, first things first, let's run a wee testaroo. There we go. Let's get that into development. Got some technology to install on the car. We'll move those guys over to work on an upgrade package for this season's car. I wonder if actually all this new equipment we've installed, the operating expenditure of the factory is actually increased so much that we're no longer making the money we need to cover it all. Right, we're going to drop this down to 10% because there's only one bar left to fill, and we'll continue working on covering reliability on the cars. We're going to install this technology improvement. Let's upgrade our power unit once more. I'm going to take out some weight, add 2 more bars to reliability and 1 more to heat. Tyres, I think it's time to improve the inters maybe. Yeah, we'll go like that. And then the usual on the race fuels. Nice. Okay, we'll spend the fortune points. Let's see how things are looking. Nice. Nope. Okay, we were not homologated there with the driver aid. I'll try then for some level 4 servo brakes. I think we're reaching our limit on those 2 categories, with only automatic gears and servo brakes being viable with our current chief designer, so we will wait. We shall bide our time. Let's repair these cars and we'll get right back out on track and wrap up the episode so you guys can get back to having an awesome new year and I can get on to making new videos. I'm still trying to figure out what my schedule is going to be for the new year and the new styling to the channel. I wanted to try and throw some new games into the mix wherever possible. F1 2016 is really interspersed. It's not a regular feature of the channel, it seems. It's more that I squeeze it in when I have time, because the episodes are quite time consuming to shoot, to encode, and then to upload. I tell you what I have been enjoying though, and I would recommend, Doom. I picked up Doom on the Steam sale because I mean obviously I love the original because I'm old, like properly old. And so for me, I wasn't entirely convinced about the remake of it, but you forget how much FPS have changed over the years and how they've become so so serious, and you know, you feel like you're walking through mud and everything's brown, and what I really missed was the very fast-paced, very casual sort of Unreal Tournament kind of feel, and it took less than 2 minutes inside the new Doom game for me to have this big smile plastered across my face. So I don't know if maybe I should play a little bit of that with you. Problem is, I tried shooting some Broforce. That was a test episode for today, but you're getting this instead now because Broforce just didn't work. I should have learned really, because I tried doing an episode of Hotline Miami last year, about the same time last year, and both those games are from Devolver Digital, and they just take up too much brain capacity. It's too fast paced for me to be able to actually speak to you in real time, and I don't like to record commentary after the fact because I think it's better to get the real reaction. Right, everything's looking good. Let's install all the new fangled gizmos and wackadoodles on our race machinery. Again, we're going to give both drivers equal opportunity in terms of setup. Both drivers are going to run the soft compound again. Don't know, maybe it's better to split actually. We'll put Deniz on the hard compound for this Grand Prix. Since he's already got a win in the bag, he can be the experimental guinea pig. We will complain about McLaren's servo brakes and see if we can't steal an automatic gearbox from them. Right, looks like we're good. So, light rain and strong wind, 26 degrees. Shame we didn't order the intermediate tyres before the full wets, actually, but never mind. Yeah. Well, if it goes to full rain, we should have a good set of new specification wet tyres that are only for us. But I don't think we can take it as read that's what's going to happen. Just making sure everyone's got everything. Let's see where we end up. An improvement, a small improvement, but an improvement nonetheless, of our previous driver, Giancarlo Fisichella, puts his Ferrari top of the pile, 1:22.789. Alexander Wurz continues his qualifying record against his teammate, taking second on a 1:22.810. Mika Hakkinen lines up third in his McLaren. Pedro Diniz fourth. David Coulthard fifth, and Shinji Nakano rounds out your top six. Smashing. 25 degrees and cloudy, so we've gone to dry weather. That's where Deniz's strategy will come into play, I suppose. So let's set that up now. He will be one stopping. Lap 36, we will be pulling him in. And I really don't know which is going to be the faster strategy, so, you know, it's always exciting to have a little bit of an unknown element thrown into it. We've got slicks on both sessions, everything's awesome. Let's see what they can do. First and third again. This time, places reversed. Alexander Wurz takes a win. I'm so excited. I dropped my phone this time. Keys, then my phone. What a day this is. 1:38.23494 was his time. Not quite as dominant as Deniz's win. David Coulthard takes second. Third goes to Pedro Diniz, keeping him in the very much in the race. Eddie Irvine fourth. The Williams seem to have a vast improvement on race pace against quali pace, taking fifth and sixth. The final points positions going to those fine boys. Down at the bottom in loser time, the final qualified finisher was Luca Badoa, number 13th in the Minardi. Again, no real pattern to the failures on the cars, but pretty decent level of attrition. Alexander Wurz and Pedro Diniz are neck and neck first position, 14 points apiece in the Drivers' Championship, which is exactly what I wanted to have happen. Double the points of David Coulthard, who's the next highest challenger. In the Constructors' Championship, we continue to lead, 28 points, the McLaren's 11. Ferrari third with 10 points, and Williams now bringing up the rear fourth with 3 points. Have to say I'm a little bit surprised that we haven't had any reliability problems yet, but I'll take it. And we made a profit. Did you see that? We made a profit. A teeny, tiny, ridiculously small profit, but a profit nonetheless. That makes me happy. I hope you guys are happy too. Whatever you're doing today, make sure it's awesome. Have as much fun as humanly possible. Don't dread going back to work, school, college, the lunatic asylum tomorrow. whatever it may be. And if you can, please, please, please do have a beer for me. Take care. I'm going to go and make some more videos for you now because I owe you like 3 weeks worth of back videos, and I intend to deliver. Thank you to everyone who's commented and emailed and everything else. I really do feel very fortunate that when you come into making videos like this, and the channel's just over a year old now, you sort of expect to get quite a lot of ear ache, quite a lot of hassle from internet people, but it turns out the ones that come here are, without exception, awesome people, and I'm very fortunate to have intelligent viewers who make reasoned comments and are generally positive about what they're watching rather than wasting their time watching something they don't enjoy. So my thanks to you for that as well. Take care, have a beer, talk soon, bye bye.